Hi students, welcome to Shakers History classes. We are doing this video as part of Prelims and Mains 2022 series. In this part, we are going to focus on the administration of Rajya and Balban. In previous classes, we have seen how Ghurid Empire expanded their territories into Indian territories and how Ghori Muhammad established his slave commanders as the administrators of these acquired territories. Delhi region came under Qutbuddin Aibak. He established his independent authority from the Central Asian politics. Later, Iltutmish can be considered as the real founder of Delhi Sultanate because he organized the administration. He also handled security challenges both internally and also externally very successfully. After Rajia Sultan, after Iltutmish, two important rulers emerged in Mamluk dynasty. One was Rajia Sultana, another one was Balban. However, after Iltutmish, within 10 years, 4 or 5 rulers changed often. This shows the instability in the Delhi Sultanate. The first one after Iltutmish was Ruknuddin Firoz. He was incompetent ruler. His mother controlled the administration. He and his mother deposed and assassinated. He came in 1236 and he was there only for few months. After him, Rajia Sultana, she was very brave ruler and she tried to assert the power from nobility for 4 years. However, even she could not handle before them. By this time period, the nobles were very powerful. In Iltutmish time period, we have seen that there were 40 nobles, a group of 40, or the another term is Turkan-i Chehalgani. That means a corps of 40 nobles. They were used as a body to administer the Delhi Sultanate. It was created by Iltutmish. However, this body became very powerful after the death of Iltutmish. And these nobles, they wanted to control full power and they wanted just ruler as mere a puppet. Rajia Sultana has faced the same challenge like his brother earlier, Ruknuddin Firoz. He was deposed by the nobles. Similarly, Rajia Sultana was also deposed by the nobles. However, she was brave and she tried to assert independence from these people, but she was not getting support. One reason was she was a woman. Second one, the Chehalgani Turkish chiefs wanted to her use just to act according to their wishes. That means they expected her to be their puppet, but she was not like that. That is another reason why she did not get support from all the Turkish nobles. Another pretext was that Rajia had a license with Abyssinian slave Malik Yakut. This is the pretext used by ulema and nobles in order to disgrace Rajia Sultana. During this time period, we have to see different type of nobles emerged in the court of Delhi Sultanate. One, obviously, Turks. They came from Central Asia. Some of them are slaves, some of them are freemen. There is another group of nobles, they are called Tajiks. Tajiks are mainly from Khorassan region, mainly Iranian based people. These people, Turks, were warriors. These people were mainly pen pushers. That means mainly they are scholars and they are used in the administration. Turks were mainly used in the military. Always Turks and Tajiks used to fight for the power because majority of the posts were occupied by Tajiks because they are very experts in administration, whereas Turks were expert in warfare. In addition to these groups, other groups like Abyssinian, he was a small community there, and also Hindus, another group, and another one Indian converts. Another group is there, that is Khaljis. Khaljis were mainly from Afghanistan Pashtun region or this region, the southeast of Ghazni region. They were also, their descent goes to Turks. They were descents of Turkish only, but majorly they were Pashtunized. they had more close culture with Afghan Pashtun culture. So they were also treated as a separate group in the nobles. So Turks were there, Tajiks, Khaljis, and Hindu Indian converts and Hindus and like Abyssinians. Among these groups, they were power mongering people and they always wanted to get the good post for their group. This kind of calculations and politics always goes in the Delhi court. Under these circumstances, only a strong ruler like Iltutmish only can handle such affairs. Later, Balban is master of all these calculations and he tried to assert his independent power. Now we will see what kind of policies Balban followed in order to contain these powers. But Rajia Sultana was not such kind of woman. She could not handle these people properly and she was sacrificed or she became the victim of their politics. During her regime, Rajia Sultana, now you see, she faced challenges. Some of the governors of other areas like Lahore region, Batinda region, they revolted against Rajia Sultana. The governor of Batinda, Malik Altunia, instigated rebellion against Rajia. Rajia and Akut marched towards Batinda. On the way, Akut was killed. Rajia married Altunia and to protect her reputation. But later, Rajia's brother Muhyiddin Barham Shah, he captured Delhi throne when she was away to handle the rebellions. At the end of the rebel, she was completely routed and she was deposed and assassinated. So this shows that once again she became the victim of the politics of nobles. Now later Muhyiddin Bahram Shah came. Here about Sultana, Rajia Sultana, the estimate is about Rajia Sultana came in the form of Minhaj uz Siraj opinion. He said that Rajia was a great sovereign, beneficent, the patron of the land, a dispenser of justice, and was endowed with all the admirable attributes necessary for the kings. This shows that she had all the qualities that are required for the kings, but however, being a woman, she could not handle the politics of the court during her lifetime, so she became the victim of these people. However, she was a brave woman. She tried to assert the independence. In the 13th century, in Indian subcontinent, there was one more woman ruler in Kakatiya dynasty. Her name was Rudramadevi. She ruled Kakatiya dynasty around 1260s and 1270s. In 1230s, we have seen Rajia Sultana. Now in 13th century, two great women rulers have seen in the Indian subcontinent. One was Rajia Sultana and Rudramadevi. They were almost contemporaries within the same century. So you can remember Rajia Sultana and Rudramadevi together. Next ruler, Bahram Shah. He tried to assert his authority from the nobles. However, he faced major threat from Mongols. Mongols invaded Lahore and Punjab region. By this time period, Mongol threat became materialized because during Iltutmish time period itself, Chengiz Khan invaded all these areas and routed the empires and kingdoms, small kingdoms and big empires, completely routed by Chengiz Khan forces. After Chengiz Khan's death, his successors, they were trying to enter into Indian mainland. During his time period, Mongols invaded Lahore and Punjab region. Now, because of these conflicts, his own army fought against him and Bahram Shah was killed in the palace. Now, once again, he became the victim of nobles. Next, Masood Shah came. He was incompetent and he was weak. He was there for 4 years, but he was not efficient ruler. Once again, he was replaced with his cousin Nasiruddin Muhammad. Later, Nasiruddin Muhammad came. He spent most of his time in prayers and copying Qurans. This shows that he was not interested in the day-to-day administration and the administration was left to his Naib. He was Balban. He was one of the Turkana-i-Chehalgani, one of the 40 group. Later, Balban became very powerful during the time period of Nasiruddin Muhammad. He faced challenges. However, Balban also faced a lot of challenges. Still, he knew the calculations of Turkana-i-Chehalgani and finally he could rule from 1266 to 1287. Before 1266 also, from 1246 to 1266, he was a Naib or Deputy Sultan. He was a Deputy Sultan for 20 years during the time period of Nasiruddin Muhammad. His period is known for Minhaj-uz-Siraj. We have just seen here Minhaj-uz-Siraj. He was patronized by Nasiruddin Muhammad. What are the challenges of Balban? So far we have seen that there are different nobles. They were competing for the posts. Among these calculations, Delhi Sultanate became the victim. Now his main challenges when Balban came to throne, his main challenges were misadministration, low prestige of the crown, the Mongol invasions, the group of party, they were very powerful, hostilities among the nobility, power hungry, revolts and rebellions, nobility was out of control, they wanted to assert their independence. So whenever central authority is weak, the fringe elements they try to assert their independence. So all these challenges Balban had to face. Now Balban followed a different policy so that he can establish a stable government at the Delhi Sultanate. He followed divine right theory of kingship. He named himself as Jila-Ilahi, that means he considered himself as the shadow of God. So this is the Iranian theory of Iranian theory. It is somewhat close to Hindu theory of kingship. That means gods and kings were compared, kings equaled with gods. So he has taken the title like shadow of God, Jila-Ilahi. This shows that he is not equal to nobles. Nobles should obey the king. Earlier, nobles were treating king as equal. That is why nobles always conspire against the king. Now Balban wanted to show that king is at a higher plane. Nobles should act according to the wishes of king, because king is almost equal to God. So everyone should obey the God. That's why he has taken this title and he practiced all these policies in day-to-day administration as well. He established a grand court. Court etiquette were followed. He did not laugh in the court. Always he maintained serious posture, and he managed the affairs at utmost seriousness. He started asking people to perform Sizda and Paibos. Generally, these practices are used only in front of God in Islam. Now, King Balban wanted all people to follow prostration and feet kissing in the form of a salutation for the king. This shows that the king is far above the nobles. He also started Nowruz. It is a Parsi New Year, a regional festival observed on the first day of first month of Zoroastrian calendar. Now you see, these were Turks. When they came from Central Asia into Iranian region and Afghanistan region, here Iranian culture was adapted by these Turks, and they brought Iranian culture into Indian mainland. So in order to maintain high prestige for the throne and king, he started practicing the Iranian theory of kingship. So these practices helped the Iranian kings to establish their authority and control over their territories. So he brought and he once again revived the Persian culture in case of Delhi Sultanate. So here two important aspects. Jil-i-Ilahi is associated with Balban. Nowruz festival started by Balban. These two are important. They can come in questions in prelims, and already in previous years also we have seen these questions. And next, he followed policies like appointment of personal guards with swords, always to terrify the viewers. He crushed the power of 40. He was one of the 40 people. When Iltutmish was there, Balban was a slave of Iltutmish. He was one of the corps of 40. Now he know the power hungry of these 40. He crushed the power of these 40 nobles. Completely he decimated the power of corps of 40, and king now became so powerful that no one can question his authority. He also established a strong justice system. Efficient spy system also established by him. He strengthened the army because now Mongol threat is coming in northwestern parts of India. He completely organized army. He created a department called Diwani Arj. It is also important. Now just we have seen before Balban also Mongols started attacking. Because of this threat, one of the rulers was deposed. Now Balban, he maintained strong forts also in the borders. He suppressed the revolts and rebellions. He massacred Mewat robbers in order to provide safe roads. Overall, all these policies can be termed as blood and iron policy of Balban. Defense against Mongols. He followed a separate defense against Mongols. He repaired the old forts, garrisoned them with strong forces, and they were well-trained forces. A line of strong forts on the frontier and military personnel. So here he strongly maintained the forces in order to contain the threat of Mongols. He divided northwestern frontiers into two parts. One was Multan and Sindh region. Here Multan, Sindh, Lahore region, one defense line. Sunam means the in present day Punjab region, another defense line. So in this frontier also he maintained strong forts. In this region also second line of defense he maintained strong army. Because of this he tried to contain Mongol threat for some time. However, it was a defense policy. He did not attack the nobles. He did not attack the Mongols. He only tried to defend from the attacks from Mongols. So as long as he was there till 1287, he maintained the prestige of Delhi Sultanate. But after his death, Delhi Sultanate became very weak. Within 3 years, completely the slave dynasty itself was liquidated by new dynasty, that is Khalji dynasty. Now you can see one of the biggest Mongol invasions in 1285. Prince Muhammad Shah was killed after defeating nobles. However, it has shocked him. His own son got killed in these adventures, and finally his death shocked Balban and died in 1287. Jalaluddin Khalji killed Kaikubad and declared himself as Sultan. With this ended slave dynasty. So this is very important. Now we see what is the importance of Delhi Sultanate or slave dynasty. One was created independent sultanate. Earlier, during the time period of Qutbuddin Aibak, it was part of Ghurid Empire. Now, during the time period of Qutbuddin Aibak itself, he started establishing independent Delhi Sultanate period. And after Iltutmish emerged, it established Delhi Sultanate became one of the independent sultanate, and it almost rivaled with Baghdad. Delhi was called as Second Baghdad. Relatively isolated from Central Asian politics, and it checked the Mongol invasions. This helped to go away from the Central Asian politics and safeguarded from the Mongol attacks. It ended the feudal polity, trade and town flourished. Ikta system, they brought Ikta system. With this, they completely ended the feudal polity. Feudal polity means the landlords acted as independent kingdoms. Now, through Ikta system, centralized administration was possible. Created uniform centralized governance once again after so many centuries. Introduced Islamic art and architecture during the time period. So these are the various important dimensions about slave dynasty. Now we will see what kind of questions previously asked about slave dynasty. The following are the rulers of slave dynasty and correct order in which these sultans ruled over India. What is the chronological order? Balban, almost end. Iltutmish, second one. Aibak, Iltutmish was the third one. Aibak was the first one. Nasruddin Muhammad, he became the ruler before Balban. So if you understand here, Qutbuddin Aibak was the first one. Here if you mark the 3 as the first one, then only one option is there. D is the answer. Qutbuddin Aibak first, then Iltutmish, then Nasruddin Muhammad, later Balban. The Mongols under Chengiz Khan invaded India during the reign of Iltutmish. Iltutmish and Chengiz Khan, they were contemporaries. Next, who among the following introduced the famous Persian festival Nowruz? He was Balban, to improve the prestige of the throne and to establish power of Delhi Sultanate. After consolidating his power, Balban assumed the grand title of Zilai Ilahi. So this also we have seen. So these are the various questions that are already asked in previous years. So with this we are ending the slave dynasty. In slave dynasty, first Qutbuddin Aibak, later Iltutmish, then Razia Sultana for some time period. She tried to ascend. Later Nasiruddin Muhammad came. He was there for 20 years, but he could not control the affairs. Most of the affairs were taken care by Balban. When Balban became the Sultan of Delhi Sultanate, he followed blood and iron policy. With this, he handled both internal crisis as well as external threats as well for some time period till 1287. But after his death, within 3 years, slave dynasty ended by another dynasty, that is Khalji dynasty. Thank you.